What's up, everyone? So, unfortunately, I am not uploading the solves of my World Championship average because the WCA, they seem to be penalizing a lot of solves, like, retroactively now, and I'm a little scared. I've sent the videos of the solves to people, and they say I don't break any rules. There's no miss scrambles, or no sliding or anything, but I'm just going to play it safe, especially with the whole clock situation thing that happened with the people getting their clock world podiums taken away. Just being extra precautious, but let me know, guys, if you want to see those videos. We'll see. If people really want to see them, I might rethink it. But aside from that, I want to show you guys some example solves from what I did. So that's what we're going to be doing. So, 4-tip scramble. A lot of these are 4-tip scrambles. And this first solve was actually a 182. So, on a 4-tip scramble, 182, not bad. What I'm going to do here is a 3-move top kind of thing. It's a little complicated. You can think of it as a top or V. I definitely thought of it as a V, but I actually think it's easier to think of it as a top. But less people do tops these days. So it's a little complicated in how I'm going to explain it, but I'm going to explain it as a top because I think enough people will understand what I mean. So it's going to be a 3-move top, and it's going to set up the 3-move top case. So get that there, and then I'm going to get that there. So the way I'm going to do that is make a U, and then those 2 moves, and then, yep. So I, one-looked it, the skip. I'm not going to go over how to one-look that solve or that scramble, because it's not a scramble, people are going to really understand how to one-look. If you think of it as a V, there's a lot of cancellations going on, and there's a B move. And I don't think that's important to know how to one-look that kind of scramble. But it is important to be able to think in different, methods. Thinking top first, thinking V first. I still recommend people learn top first because you'll learn, ways pieces move that you might not learn just only solving V first ever. But let's go into the second scramble. Things start to spice up there. All right, so here's my second solve. I was pretty nervous for this one, so I ended up getting a +2 on a tip. But this is going to be something that I'm going to preach for the rest of the video, and that's simplicity in your solves. So check out how simple the solution is. It's a 3-move V into a no AUF L4 case. And it really doesn't get any more simple than that. And I think on top of that, what's important to understand from this solve and learn from this solve is that you should be able to one-look your 3-move Vs, okay? I think 4-move Vs, it gets a little complicated. If you're using B moves, well, this does use one B move. But if you're using multiple B moves, a lot of different, like if you're doing an R and an L and a B, if you're doing a lot of different moves, or even if it's just, a few more moves. But really, you should know how to do your 3-move Vs. So here's an example of one. 1, 2, 3. If you can't catch on to what just happened there, just basically doing an R move in order to set up this piece and this piece to solve by doing a U prime and B prime. And then that's going to set up an L4 case. There's nothing too crazy about this. That's perfect. So you want in your World Championship solves. All right, you want simplicity. That's you're going to have the best muscle memory at, and the handshaking isn't going to affect those really simple solutions as much as it would if I was doing, B moves and double R primes and, what people do these days. But yeah. All right, so here's the third solve. I got a 156 on this one, partly because I thought the average was over after the second solve because it was a +2. I was like, well, whatever. There's no chance I get 3 solves that are, sub-2s. But turned out that the average wasn't over because, the next 3 solves panned out well. Part of the reason why this panned out well, I'd argue the main reason, is because I went with what I knew and not what I didn't know. So, what I mean by that is let's say I went for a solution that I was, looked for a while. It took me maybe, 12 seconds to find. And it would be the optimal solution, right? It would be L prime, that, and then finish the solve, okay? But instead, for some reason, the way my brain worked, it just saw this first, okay? The opposite of that, R, L prime, B, L, R prime, okay? So that's what I did. And again, sometimes when I do example solves, I get a little too metaphorical. But I think this is really something that earns that treatment. This is a solve that really earns that treatment. Because, okay, if I did this, or the other way, but if I did that and I really tried to, like, find the optimal solution, chances are I was going to get nervous while I was looking for it. I'd probably get a little flustered when the judge says 8 seconds. Instead, it took me probably, 4 seconds, if I remember correctly, to find this one. And it's got great finger tricks, it's simple, and it works, okay? So yeah, really, I think that's going to be the theme of this average, is that, simplicity, what you know, is king. All right, this is my best time of the average, so my not counting time. And I'm sure you guys can tell why already. This is what I like to call a last layer V. So meaning that you do a last layer algorithm in order to solve your V. So that's going to be obviously that, because that has to go there and that has to go there. So that's what I did, and then it's just an L4 alg. It's probably the easiest one look you could possibly imagine. And then also it's got no regrips and no finger tricks. No like complicated finger tricks. And then also, I don't know if you caught it, but obviously I'm going to do that last layer algorithm from here with those wrist turns, which removes the rotation, also provides a super reliable way of doing those. Just like that almost never fails, which is perfect, again, for a championship setting. You do the things you know are going to work, that you've practiced a million times. I had to keep emphasizing it over and over again and sound like a broken record, but really that's what's important about this average. That's what people can learn from it. That's what I'm making this video for.
Could this be a fairy tale ending? A comeback for the ages? It's so fast! 1.7.
All right, so here's the 5th and final scramble. It's actually 4 of the 5 had 4 tips on them, which is probably a reason why a lot of people did bad. But I'm actually going to spend a little more time on this one showing you guys the solution, because it wasn't so simple. It's sort of the antithesis of the rest of the average. But I think the finger tricks are what saves this, and then there's also another detail that I want to talk about that really saved this solve that I'll talk about in a second. But let's just go through how I will look this, and then, what the solution is. So the solution is going to be a little bit of a lengthy V, but I'm going to RU to solve this center, and then match this edge there. And this is going to be, just stay right there, so I know it's going to be an R, L prime, R prime, to finish my V. So let's track this piece, because we know these two are just going to be a U away. So we need to track one more piece in order to get our full one look. So RU, so it's now this red piece is going to be there. R, L prime, R prime. So that's going to move over there. The red piece is now going to be there. Boom. R, L prime, R prime. Now it's solved, to its red and green center. Okay, we have a sledge. That's what I was thinking. Awesome. So we don't have to do any kind of L4E algorithm. It's just an L3E algorithm, which is pretty quick. There's going to be an AUF, but that's okay. We'll just do that quickly. So, oops, what the heck? Oh, yeah, sorry. And then, boom. I'm glad I didn't do that during the actual competition. That would have sucked. But, okay, so aside from what I just showed you, I want to tell you the reason why I really think I won the World Championship and why that last solve went so well, despite my solution not being great. And I think the reason behind that is because I employed a strategy that I've been employing ever since my first world record, and that's to talk and have a friendly conversation in between your solves, especially when you know you're doing well, okay? So what I do is I find something in common with my judge. I saw my judge at this competition was wearing like an Alabama sweatshirt. I said, hey, Alabama football is going to be pretty good this year. Actually, they turned out to not be great. They lost their first game for the first time in a long time. But whatever. I said, hey, Alabama football is going to be good this year. And then we talked about, college and college athletics, and it was really good conversation. By the time the next cube rolled around, I just felt like, oh, the cube was a side plot to this awesome conversation I'm having with this guy. So just solve the cube and send it back. And I did that for the last 2 or 3 solves. I think that really helped with my nerves. That's something I've been employing ever since my first average. So yeah, I think that's probably the most applicable tip from this entire thing. Not everyone can, can find the Pyraminx, the simplest solution, whatever. Not everyone can bundle multiple solutions per solve or, do things like that. But I think something everyone can employ is when you're on PR track, go back to the waiting the waiting room. What's it called? The waiting area. Go back to the waiting area and strike up a conversation. Be like, hey man, what do you average at home? Don't say how are you doing so far. I'm pretty sure it's illegal. But be like, how do you do at home? What are your goals? And I really think that's something that can help you and help everyone get better times. Having a little friendly conversation to take your mind off of things, that's really worked for me. So thank you guys for watching. There's gonna be more from this channel. I've got a lot of side hustles these days. I play guitar, go to the gym a lot. So expect to see some more of those kind of posts. And I also, maybe bring back like the Ezra Shear Show, those longer form videos that I was making. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.